Good evening. Welcome to worship on this evening. That doesn't sound right. It's still day, right? On this day the Lord has made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. As we're going to kick things off tonight, I'm going to invite Mike and Sam to come up and grab the offering trays. We're going to go ahead and collect our offering right here at the beginning while we run through some announcements just to get that out of the way. That way we are killing two birds with one stone. There they are right there, guys. Go ahead and grab them. Let's see. First thing I want you to do tonight is do your date check. Everyone look at your bulletin. Look at the front cover. Make sure the date says March 16th, 2022. Believe it or not, last week, after a break of 2 years, we still had one that snuck through from 2 years ago. It happens. They get stuck in. They're crafty little buggers. They get in with Holden and they hide and all that fun stuff. So make sure you got the right bulletin there. Also, make sure you have your copy of Holden Evening Prayer. That will be the musical selection that we have tonight. Tonight is, of course, our second Wednesday or second regular Wednesday night. The format tonight will be the same as if you were here last week. You know what to expect. But a few changes. If you have not been here for a couple of years now, we've moved quite a bit of Holden up to the beginning. So we're going to do a larger chunk of Holden at the beginning. We will do most of that together. And one thing I always like to point out is on page 4, when we get to the bottom, that's that cool little really weird part where it splits into 2 parts. Everyone sing group 1. If you sing group 2, it's going to be weird. Really weird. I'm trying to make you laugh. So we'll all sing with that. Now, here's the fun thing about a cappella, and you all know this. We're making a joyful noise, so if it gets a little bit strange, that's all right. But I always want to encourage people, if you don't feel comfortable jumping in right away, that's okay. Listen along. Jump in whenever you're comfortable, and that will be fine. As we move into our worship for tonight, our theme of the season is restoration and resurrection. Collectively, we are all looking to God to help us find that new sense of normalcy as we're coming out of the last couple of years. And each week, each scripture lesson will feature in on stories when Jesus has created a moment of restoration or resurrection. And as you may have seen last week, once we have our scripture, then we'll have a dialogue. And I'm excited that my dialogue partner is here tonight. She didn't go to the theater again like a week ago.
Yeah, well,
How was the show? It was good. Okay, so we'll go with that. But with all of that in mind, I'm going to invite you to stay seated unless you really want to stand for music, but you'll probably be the only one who does. So remain seated, remain comfortable, and we will begin with Holden Evening Prayer. Jesus Christ, you are the light of the world, the light no darkness can overcome. Stay with us now, for it is evening, and the day is almost over. Let your light scatter the darkness and shine within your people here. Joyous light of heavenly glory, loving glow of God's own face, you who sing creation's story, shine on every land and grace. Now as evening falls around us, we shall raise our songs to you. God of daybreak, God of shadows, come and light our hearts anew. In the stars that grace the darkness, in the blazing sun of dawn, in the light of peace and wisdom, we can hear your quiet love that warms the weary soul, love that bursts all chains asunder, set us free and make us whole. You who made the heavens splendor, every dancing star of night, make us shine with gentle justice, let us each reflect your light. Mighty God of all creation, gentle Christ who lights our way, loving Spirit of salvation, lead us on to endless day. May God be with you all, and also with you. Let us sing our thanks to God. It is right to give God thanks and praise. Blessed are you, Creator of the universe. From old you have led your people by night and day. May the light of your Christ make our darkness bright. For your word and your presence are the light of our pathways, and you are the light and life of all creation. Amen. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. O God, I call to you, come to me now. Oh, hear my voice when I cry to you. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. Keep watch within me, God, deep in my heart. May the light of your love be burning bright. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. All praise to the God of all, Creator of life. All praise be to Christ and the Spirit of love. Let my prayer rise up like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering to you. I invite you now to join in reading responsively from Psalm 85 as printed in the bulletin. Lord, you were favorable to your land. You restored the fortunes of Jacob. Restore us again, O God of our salvation, and put away your indignation towards us.
Will you not revive us again, so that your people may rejoice in you?
Show us your steadfast love, O Lord, and grant us your salvation.
Let
There is peace for God's faithful, to those who turn their hearts to the Lord.
Surely God's salvation is at hand for those who fear, that God's glory will dwell in our land.
Steadfast love and faithfulness will meet. Righteousness and peace will come near.
Faithfulness will spring up from the ground, and righteousness look down from the sky.
The Lord will give what is good, and our land will yield its increase.
Righteousness will go before the Lord, and will make a path for the steps of God.
An angel went from God to a town called Nazareth, to a woman whose name was Mary. The angel said to her, "Rejoice, O highly favored, for God is with you. You shall bear a child, and his name shall be Jesus, the chosen one of God Most High." And Mary said, "I am the servant of my God. I live to do your will." My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life through. Great and mighty are you, O Holy One. Strong is your kindness evermore. How you favor the weak and lowly one, humbling the proud of heart. You have cast the mighty down from their thrones, and uplifted the humble of heart. You have filled the hungry with wondrous things, and left the wealthy no part. Great and mighty are you, O faithful one. Strong is your justice, strong your love. As you promised to Sarah and Abraham, kindness forevermore. My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life through. Our scripture lesson for tonight is the story of Jesus healing the man born blind. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground, made mud with the saliva, and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar began to ask, "Is not this the man who used to sit and beg?" Some were saying, "It is he." Others were saying, "No, but it is someone like him." He kept saying, "I am the man." But they kept asking him, "Then how were your eyes opened?" He answered, the man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and said to me, go to Siloam and wash. Then I went and washed and received my sight. They said to him, where is he? And he said, I do not know. Okay, Vicki, come on. Okay.
So here we are.
Here we are. Are you ready?
Well, you told me we were, so that's what you said.
You're pretty trusting.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Sometimes you have to, yeah.
yes.
Well, I want to thank you for inviting me and making this opportunity, because I think it's really a good thing to be able to do some community things together, and hopefully we can do some more, even though he's twice now ratted me out about last week. However, I'm letting it go right now.
I think we've got some deep-seated emotional issues going on. Okay, enough banter.
Yeah.
So, we've got the story of the guy born blind. And I love this story. I wish we had room to print the whole thing. Some of you may remember, this story goes on for like 197 verses, which is an exaggeration, but it's really long.
Seems like it.
It's really, yeah, when we read it, I have to have him sit when it comes up because it's just so long, we don't stand up for it. But, so the guy's healed. And the people ask him, like, hey, what happened? And he's like, oh, well, okay, this guy made mud and he spread it on my face.
Of course, what else?
Yeah, because that seems like a logical way to heal blindness. And then he says, and then he told me to wash, and so I washed and I could see. And they're like, okay, cool. We don't believe you, right?
Well, and yeah, it's just such a purely human reaction to doubt, I think, and then they immediately go to blame, and I just think that's such a human way to react to things that negative that happen, and I think a lot of times we do that maybe even due to a little feelings of guilt of our own.
Yeah. Well, and so then it's you're right, they start throwing blame. And they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And some of the people are like, well, we're pretty sure that's the guy. And others are like, no, it just looks like him. And it's a big coincidence. And he's like, guys, it's me. And so then they're like, well, let's ask his parents. And so they call his parents. They come in and they're like, is this your son? And they're like, yeah. Why do you ask? But they're freaked out too.
And they throw him under the bus.
And they throw him under the bus, kind of like I did to you earlier.
Yeah, they do.
Yep. And so the people ask him again, the leaders of the synagogue, they ask him again, so what happened? And he has to keep telling the story over and over again. And can you imagine how irritated he got? Like, guys, I've told you, why do you, I can see, I can look out there and see you, I can see, why don't you believe me? And they go round and round and round and round. And as amazing as this moment is for the guy, he ends up getting kicked out of his community. So when it's all said and done, he gets so snarky with the people that they kick him out of the synagogue. So this amazing thing has happened, and yet instead of being restored back to the life that he would have known, he kind of loses that community, but he also gains a new one because he becomes a follower of Jesus.
We assume.
We think.
Yes.
We think. I'm going to assume. Yes.
For what other reason? Was he healed? And maybe we can even go back to maybe that's his purpose in being born blind in the first place was to then have the opportunity to prove the power of God and through his healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's interesting about this is, so this guy was born blind, so he's never known anything different. And it stands to reason that his experience with the community that now is throwing him under the bus as a whole was probably not real spectacular the whole time. Well, here's a beggar, which doesn't seem super great. But in this moment where initially anyway, it feels like okay, this should be getting really good for him, then it's not.
And he has no one to share any joy with because he's already been an outcast, basically. People maybe who should have been his friends didn't help him. He had to beg.
Yep.
So I don't know how impressed they were with the whole thing. You know?
Well, and how impressed was he?
Well, it's just like, okay, I had mud in here and I could see.
Yeah, like for him, it's this amazing moment, and his community kind of really seems to drop the ball. So this story, I think, really illustrates the messiness of restoration. When God takes action, it's not always super smooth, right?
Yes, and we often, and sometimes we don't even recognize it, right?
Right.
When God takes the action, and we may not even recognize it or want to acknowledge it, or, you know, we have that human doubt and that sort of thing that always creeps in.
So earlier you mentioned blame, that there's a lot of blame that seems to get thrown around in this, and the disciples are the ones who ask about it. I mean, right there from the get-go, they see this guy who's blind, and so they default to this idea that, well, either he must have sinned or his parents did, so he's born this way, which is really weird.
That it has to be somebody's fault.
That it has to be someone's fault. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as the story goes on, that blame kind of seems to continue as they're trying to figure out, like, is this guy lying? Why isn't he being honest with us?
Is he even the guy?
Is he even the guy? Yep. Are they pulling the wool over our eyes? So, how do you think that translates into real life? Like, blame and all that stuff?
It's all the time. Just a tiny story. So a lot of you know my kids, Seth and Lindsay. So when they were little, if Seth ever got into trouble, the very first words out of his mouth were, "But Lindsay," every single time. We started calling her But Lindsay. And that's true. And sometimes we still bring it up, but it's just such a natural reaction to want to blame somebody else for the things that happen and not take responsibility. And I think I said before maybe that sometimes I think it is even out of a little guilt of your own, that if you can lay this on somebody else, then you're going to feel better. Which is not necessarily true, but I think that's just a natural human.
But we grow out of that. We don't do that when we're adults, right?
Sure. Sure.
How many people out there have more than one kid in their house? Most, as I look around. Yeah. How often do you hear "But Lindsay"? I mean, hopefully you don't hear "But Lindsay" unless you're in Vicki's house. But and that reminds me of another story. Happens pretty early in the Bible, when there's these two people named Adam and Eve and this crazy serpent, and they disobey God, and the first thing they do is play the blame game. And Adam's like, "It wasn't my fault. The woman, she gave me the fruit, and it was really tasty. It was her fault." And then she's like, "It wasn't my fault, it was the snake's fault." And so I can't help but think it's human nature to do that, right? And we all fall in that trap. And all we have to do is turn the news on, and we see a lot of stones getting thrown, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
So maybe it's a good thing that Jesus came around to somehow redeem this broken world.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
You got your notes there.
Not very helpful, not helpful at all.
All right, well, before we wrap this up, questions? Comments?
Comments, yes.
You've been kind of quiet out there. We can make you turn to your neighbors and chat. I mean, we're Lutherans. We don't like doing that, no offense.
Well, I'm not even going to tell you what. Never mind. Just forget that.
Okay, all right. I think we've
We
covered
chat.
it for today. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We'll conclude our service tonight with the final blessing on the back page of Holden. Let us bless our God. Praise and thanks to you,